Hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, a Tealight candle holder. Well, I recently saw some of these in a craft shop while on vacation, and I thought, what a great idea to bring to the show for both a project to use up scraps and as well, you know, with the season getting closer to that Christmas thing, maybe some stocking stuffers or small gifts for your friends or family. So you're going to need a few supplies for this, so let's head over to the bench and run through what we're going to need. Well, the supplies for this project are simple. So for each candle holder you make, you're going to need one Tealight candle. You're going to need one pack of small matches. Now, not the book matches, but the little box of matches. And you're going to need a block of scrap. In this case, it's a block of Flame Box Elder. It's left over from our playing card box. It's the offcut. But what we're going to do for starters is we need to measure our box of matches. Well, the measurement that we need is this measurement right here to start with. And that is the length of the box, and in my case, that is 2 1/8 of an inch. So that now is going to be how wide our block of wood needs to be. So I'm going to take this over to the table saw and we're going to cut it to 2 1/8. Well, we now have that cut to 2 1/8, and you can see that it's the same as the length of our matches. We now want to measure the thickness of our box of matches. And from what I can see here, this box is 1/2 inch thick. I don't know if you can see that there, but we also want to check the width of our package. And the width of the match box is 1 7/16. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut a dado in the end of this piece here. It's going to be 1/2 inch wide, and it's going to be 1 7/16 of an inch deep. Now we're just going to do it with a regular table saw blade and kind of nibble our way up to it. But you want to be careful doing this. It's a little bit tricky with this size of a piece of wood, so make sure that you have a good push stick or a good backer board to guide this piece through. A tenoning jig would be even better, but for our purposes here, we're just going to cut this out, as I said, 1/2 inch wide and 1 7/16 of an inch deep. And there we have our slot in our block. If you're not comfortable with doing that on the table saw, you can always notch this out on the bandsaw. I just find you get much cleaner results from the table saw. As well, if you want it to make this a little less nerve-wracking, you could make these in multiples and make this out of a much longer piece and then cut off your 2 1/8 wide chunks as you go after already getting this dado cut. But the dado is to accept our matchbox, and you can just see how that fits in there, and we'll get into that just a little more in just a bit. But what we need now is a place to hold our candle, and that will be right here on top. So you want to measure your Tealight, and they're a pretty standard size. It's not like there are a ton of them that are different. This is 1 9/16 will fit just fine. So we are going to drill a 1 9/16 inch hole. Let me just measure how deep it's going to be. A 1 9/16 inch hole, and it's going to be 5/8 of an inch deep. And we are going to center it on the back end of our block, both centered between the back edge of this dado and the back of the block, and centered left to right on our block as well. Well, truth be told, I didn't have a 1 9/16, so I used a 1 5/8, and that fits just nicely as well. Bit of wiggle room there, but if you have 1 9/16, you can use that if you like. Well, now I want to take a 1/8 inch round over bit. I want to soften up the edges of this circle, and as well I want to run it around all of the outside perimeter on the top and the bottom of our candle holder. And once you get that done, give the whole thing a good sanding. Now at this point, if you want, you can add a finish onto this. I think I'm just going to give it a nice coating of Danish oil, and that should be just fine for this piece. And now that we have the finish applied, I'm just going to use a hot glue gun here, and I'm going to glue 4 little rubber feet onto the bottom of our candle holder. Now these ones here are adhesive ones, but I just find that using a glue gun just gives it that extra amount of adhesion. I find that if you just use the regular stickiness that they come with, I find that they come off in another month. So I use a hot glue gun and get them on there really securely. Just like that. And now the last step is to secure your box of matches in here. So make sure, now that your candle is the right side up, make sure that the opening on the box is at the top. And we're just going to run a bead of glue, hot glue, along the one striker edge here. And we don't need a lot. Just a little bead, just like that. And once you get it on there, push it in your groove right to the back and center it and push it in place until that glue sets. And really now the only thing left to do is drop your candle in. Open your little drawer of matches and light the candle. Just like that. And there you have it. A Tealight candle holder. Guys, what a simple concept. What a simple project. It's a block of wood with a dado and a Forstner bit hole at 5/8 of an inch deep. It couldn't get any more simple than this, but the results are spectacular. If you have small scraps of exotic woods or woods with interesting grain patterns like curly maple and that sort of thing, bird's eye maple is another one, flame box elder is huge. If you have pieces of wood like this and they're smaller scraps, why not make some of these for some Christmas gifts, birthday gifts, stocking stuffers, whatever you want to call it. You know what? How about just for a friend to say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I made you this on the weekend. It doesn't take much to make one of these. And as I said earlier in the video, if you run that dado in a longer piece of wood, you could fire these things off and lop it off of that main piece and make them a dozen at a time. It takes almost no effort. The most time that was taken in this entire project was doing the finish, and even that didn't take that long. It's simple Danish oil. Guys, a fun project, a great one for using up scraps, and a great one to be thoughtful to somebody else and give them something. Guys, I want to thank you for tuning in this week. I hope you've enjoyed the program. If you haven't as of yet, please like and subscribe and click that bell so you don't miss the notifications of future shows. Guys, once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you're going to join me again next week for yet another woodworking video.